Stream will stop. No. No. Settings.
Am I live? I have no idea.
I don't know where you put the stream key. It's in there.
What's this say?
Read it.
Why isn't it working?
I don't know, maybe move that chat down. You are live.
It says I'm live, but I'm not live because no one can see me. I am here. Oh, yes. They can see me. It's okay. Off you go. Thank you.
I'll just shoot it away. Right.
Oh, phew. Oh. Sorry about that. Hello, everyone. Absolute nightmare there. It said I needed to press a button, but I couldn't find the button. Oh, dear me. Right, I'm here. Hello, everybody. Oh, so nice to see you all. Hello, Jana. Hello, Joan, Zoe. Oh, I can see everybody. Phew, I can calm down now. Oh, right. Panic over, exactly. Yes, my lovely assistant. Yeah, he's vanished. He's vanished now. I don't know. I don't know what help he actually did, but there we are. So let me just say hello to everybody. I'm so pleased to be here. I'm so excited. I hope that you've all been having an absolutely fantastic weekend so far. I've tuned in on a few of them when I can, and I know there's been some absolutely fantastic little class and stuff going on. So I hope you've been having a great time. Who's the assistant? That was my husband, Nick. So let me introduce myself to those of you that don't know me. I'm Lisa Goddard. I live over here in the UK in Sheffield, so that's really right in the middle. I have been art journaling for about 20 years. I love art journaling, mixed media, bookmaking. My style, for those of you that don't know, is very grungy. It's very intuitive, process driven. Some might say messy. I think that's probably fair. It's full of texture. I love using lots and lots of texture and colour, lots of collage, lots of layers. Fabric appears in most pages, stitching, that sort of thing. Sometimes I work with a prompt. So like today, the title of my class today is Fragility, and that's a prompt that I've chosen that we'll be working with. Sometimes I start off with that. Maybe it's a word, maybe it's a feeling or a memory or something like that I want to process, or I want to record in some way. And then other times I just sit down and play and let the mediums, let the materials, let everything like that guide me, and just play and see what happens. So today, like I did say, we were going to be doing about fragility. No, I'll come on to that in a minute. I'll just tell you a little bit about some of my inspirations first of all. Let me just check the chat as well. Say hello to everyone. Oh, thank you, Jana. I'm inspired by nature. Who couldn't be, living where I do? I live near the Peak District National Park. For any of you that don't know, it's one of the most beautiful places ever. So the colours and the textures and everything that I get, and through the changing seasons here, are always an inspiration. And also people, people's stories. I love using vintage images in my work, and I know Jane Chip was on here earlier, and I'm absolute huge admirer of her and how she uses the vintage photographs in her work. And I love that as well, that sort of creating stories. And I tend to sort of create stories around them that also reflect stuff going on in my own life as well. So I'm going to flick my camera over. While I'm doing that, I will just remind you all about Wanderlust. There's not many of those early bird prices left, I don't think. Amy will probably be able to give you a heads up on that, but if you haven't, there we go. Hang on. I know it's going to be echoey. Just a sec. Is that better? Am I echoey or am I okay? Let me know, somebody. Yes, the Peak District is gorgeous, Amy, for anyone that ever gets a chance to come and visit. Yes, so Wanderlust, if just a little reminder, if you haven't signed up, $99 for those early bird prices, absolute bargain. Just more of what you've seen this weekend. Such fantastic lessons, and I'm so excited to be one of the teachers for this year. So I'm sure they'll get snapped up pretty quick. My affiliate link will be down there, and if you do use that, like I think most tutors have said, I do get a little commission, so thank you very much in advance for that support. Right, sound is good, slightly crackly but not echoey. Okay, that's good. Static, getting static. Let me just see if I can move the microphone and see if that, does that sound any better? And you can see the table. Yep. Let me know if that's really bothering you, and I'll see if I can. No, static. Okay. Thank you, Sally. All right. Quickly, this is an example here of the sort of pages that we're going to be doing today. This one here. Talking about fragility, I decided I wanted to use that word because I wanted to show you some of my favourite techniques using quite fragile mediums, so tissue paper and old tea bags and stitching and sort of tattered old bits of fabric and things like that. So fragile, oh great, this sounds better. Fragility, that's why I went with that word. So we'll come back to that. I'll just show you a little quick flip through for people who don't know my style, who've not seen my work before. A little bit of my journal here. So like I say, I'm inspired by nature. The pages are always very full of fabric, and stitching and texture. I like using lots of white space and images, as you can see. And sort of little interactive elements here and there as well. So that's just a little bit, that's a flippy flip there as well. Lots of found words. Oh, this is one of my favourite pages recently. With this little image I got, this is a vintage photograph of a lighthouse, and it's sort of a little tag that pulls out. So, yes. Fantastic. Right, looks like the sound is working okay, so let's crack on. After we're a little bit late now, that after my shaky start. So I'm going to move that journal out of the way. I don't know if any of you are the same, but I have about 20 journals on the go at one time. We're going to work in this one today, which is a little one that I made. Have a little flick through of this as well. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Casey. So this is a few of the pages in this one. It's a relatively new journal. I've been working in this one very long. I like this one with all the fabricy flowers. This one's a bit of a lots of layers, this one. I don't think I was feeling great that day. That's, I think, one of the things I use my journal for is to help process a lot of information, a lot of emotions. It's kind of like my safe place to do that. And the words here, you do not have permission. So I do use them quite often to sit down and have a good old rant. So occasionally I'll get pages a little bit like that. Right, I'm going to work in this one because it's already got this tissue paper page, which I've just stenciled with gesso on there to start us off with the whole theme. I'm just checking the comments. Ah, Ruth, that's nice. You're working in one that you made with me. Oh, I think the static was my pages turning. Okay. Yeah, they can be noisy. I just to show you as well, they get rather chunky. Here are a few on the side. Because I fill them with so much texture and fabric and everything. I don't stay in the pages, and they do turn into proper chunky monkeys by the time I've finished. Right, fragility. So I did look up the word once I'd come up with that. That was what I was going to use. And the actual definition in the dictionary is easily broken or damaged. I'm just reading it here. Delicate or vulnerable. But when I sat down and I thought about the word, immediately images sort of pop into my head, like a flower or a butterfly, a feather, a spider's web, all of which have nature in common, but they also have life. So if you think of a spider's web, yes, it's very fragile structure, but it brings its creator a home and food and safety and shelter. So I kind of then started going down this path in my head of things like there's fragile aspects in nature, but it's all about life and strength. They're very linked in my head. So a feather, for example, and I have one here to the side of me, in itself is a very fragile, delicate sort of structure, yet it's designed to fly. So it's kind of like thinking of bringing that into my own life and thinking life can be fragile, but there's a lot of strength that you can also find. I'm just checking, sorry, I was just checking because Amy was mentioning the volume again, the sound. That's okay. So what I'm going to do, and it's something that I quite often do in my journals, especially when I start off with a prompt, is I'm going to start with what I call spill writing. I'm sure it's got lots of different names, but basically I'm going to just write really without thinking too much about the prompt. I'm just going to use a pencil, but you can use a pen. Oh, I should say that the materials list, the supplies list, I'm very fluid, very fluid with it. I will try my hardest to stick with what I put down, but generally my way of working is just to kind of grab what appeals to me as I go, but I will try my hardest to stick with what I put in the list. Anyway, I'm starting with a pencil, going to do some spill writing. I'm just going to write about the prompt, pretty much what I've just been saying about my thoughts around it, but it could be something quite specific. So if you've got a specific memory in mind of something that's linked to something fragile, you could write about that, for example. So I'm just going to, and I keep it very scrawly. My writing's pretty terrible, but it's just going to get me started. It's going to get the process started, and sort of breaks that scary blank white page, which we all struggle with sometimes. Sorry, I'm just writing literally what I've been saying about the spider's web and the feather. And some of this will show through at the end, some of it won't, but like I say, it's more about getting your page going, getting it started. I don't always do this process, but sometimes, especially when I'm not quite sure where to start, it's quite a good technique, because it just gets the process going. It's getting worse as I go down, my writing. Right, that's very scrawly. But it basically is what I've said. I finished it off by saying, I can't even read my own writing. Life is fragile, but we all have the ability to fly and do great things. So, oh, what's that? Leela? My pastor preached on the anti-fragile faith just this morning. Ah, that's great. Isn't that funny how that sometimes happens? Kind of, yeah. You might have not heard that word for weeks, and then it pops up twice in one day. Right. So that gets me started. That page is no longer blank, and I've got a great starting point. And the mood of the piece is already kind of begun now. So I'm going to put that to one side. I'm going to start playing around with some of my layers that we're going to build. And I do quite often do this, so I kind of like start a page and then I'll dibble and dabble with something else and move on to something else and then bring it all together somehow. So I've just got a piece of tissue paper here, just blank white. I also picked out this, which I thought, this is just a patterned one, came wrapped in with a present, but I love the kind of doves and the idea of kind of peace and nature and stuff there. Ooh, come on, back to focus. There we go. But on this blank piece, I am going to do a little bit of mark making. I've got some India ink here, some walnut ink, so just various different inks. And I am just going to grab a brush off the side. Oh, I haven't washed that brush very well and it's gone all hard. Let's try a different one. I've put a piece of paper underneath it because it's so fine it will kind of leak through, but that will give me some pattern on this paper underneath, which will end up as collage fodder itself. And I'm just making little intuitive marks on the tissue paper here. Whatever I feel like, whatever feels good on the day. You can see it'll leave the odd mark and stuff underneath. It's kind of relaxing, kind of just sitting and making marks like this, and some of it will end in the page, some of it will just go into my stash. Just little ticky tick marks. Maybe I'll do some little crosses as well. Don't know why I always kind of lean towards doing crosses. You can use bigger brushes. Let's move and use a flat brush and make some bigger marks. And the idea is using these kind of delicate, look at that, it's gone in a big splodge, so I put too much ink on, but that's okay. It is what it is. But using this kind of fragile medium material you don't quite know how it's going to react, and you don't know quite what to expect. But it will create some gorgeous see-through layers in our pages. This is walnut ink now. You could use, if you don't have walnut ink, you can use whatever different colours, or you could use instant coffee. I've got some here. It's a bit lighter than the walnut ink, but it's still going to make some nice marks. I'm going to do some circles with that. Just checking the comments as I'm doing this. What's Rachel say? This is what you love to do. Yes, exactly that. So you just kind of sit down, and you, yeah, the day that you've had just kind of appears on the journal. It's a great way of kind of processing your day, or specific feelings, that sort of thing. Oh, I like those circles. I really like how they're showing, how they're turning out. Right, so we've got some marks on some tissue paper, and you could actually use, I'm using tissue paper, you could use patterned napkins, you could use sewing paper, vellum, anything like that. So anything that's kind of see-through will work perfectly. I'm going to leave that to dry. So I've got my tissue paper and I've got my marked tissue paper. I'm going to work on another piece of see-through, another see-through medium, just get my words out, which is tea bags. I am never ever at a shortage of tea bags in my house, since I drink gallons and gallons of the stuff. So why not keep them and make use of them? I actually love the colour once you've dried them out, on the different shapes that you can get. I love the kind of different patterns that you have around the edges and that sort of thing. I think they're lovely to use in your journals. What I tend to do is use them like little pockets, and actually you can just sort of tear an opening and slot things in. However, today we're going to open them out. I've got an example of that actually. Let's see. There, that's an example of the tea bag where I've just slotted the image in, so it creates a little frame, and that's how I love using them. But like I say, today we're going to open them out, so I'm just going to get them. You could use scissors, or you could just delicately tear down the sides, and I'm going to keep them, well, there's lots of tea still in it, nice and long like that. There's another one here. So you end up with these nice long pieces, and I love that they're kind of torn and scrappy looking. Now if you're working on a really big page, you might need quite a few of these to start kind of creating a little bit of a patchwork with them. For me, on mine, I tend to work reasonably small in my journals. 2 probably is going to be enough. Maybe I could even get away with just 1. But we'll go with the 2. And I'm going to start sort of stitching these, as delicate as they are, stitching these together. I've got some scrappy fabrics to the side of me here. I've also got my tub of paper scraps as well. And I might end up stitching some different pieces in there. So we just, well, that's a really huge needle. Let me try. Let me go for the more delicate needle. I've got different coloured threads here, so I could choose all sorts of different colours to go with. Whatever grabs me today. I think I'm going for that greeny teal colour. I like that. I'm going to try and keep my eye on the chat. Yeah, I love mark making like that. Just, it is, you could just sit and relax and do sheets and sheets of it. It's very nice, very relaxing. I'm just splitting this down because I don't want it to be quite so thick. Oh, now you see I've got to thread a needle live. Let's see how quickly I can do this. Oh, that wasn't too bad. Have I got them on? Have I just got one of them on? I've just got one of them on. I knew it was too good to be true. There we go. Right, okay. I absolutely adore adding stitching and adding fabric. There's just something about it that just really speaks to me. I'm gonna try and make it so that it's not too tedious for you to watch me stitch and stitch, but I am going to just kind of do some little cross stitches to just stitch these two pieces together. Obviously they are delicate, so I'm having to just be kind of a little bit careful and not pull too tightly, so I don't want them to tear. But all straight away, just putting that little pop of colour in, I think works really well. I tried to think what it is about fabric and stitching that kind of really appeals to me. And I think it comes back to the kind of whole story. I love creating stories or finding stories, and there's something like we all have memories of clothes that we wore as a child, or I don't know, comfort blankets, that sort of thing. We just, I think, all seem to have some connection and memories associated with fabric, and I think that's what it must be. Right, I've done some little cross stitches. That's stitched my two pieces together nicely. I'm just going to tie that off at the back. It looks quite nice that side as well, actually. Boom. Then what I'm going to do to add to this, I might change colours, is I'm going to grab little pieces of the fabric here that I've got. That's quite nice, isn't it? These kind of torn leftover scraps of bits and bobs. That's quite a nice sort of torn raggy bit there. But I think I want something with a bit of colour as well. Maybe the orange, or maybe that orange. That's kind of nice with all the threads on it. Ooh, I do tend to tear them. I don't want it to be that big. Like that. And I'm going to start actually stitching some of this onto my little piece that I'm creating here as well. Where do I want it? Here maybe? I quite like that. Let's have some of that there as well. Something like that? Yes, quite like that. I'm just getting myself, oh, I was going to change colours, wasn't I? Let's change colours. Let's put some pink. You can't go wrong with a bit of pink. Ooh. There's so much that you can do with these little tea bag layers. I'm doing stitching and I'm doing, you know, I'm stitching fabricy bits on and stuff, but you can also paint these, you can stamp onto them, you could stencil onto them. If you're not keen on stitching, which I know some people aren't and they find it frustrating, you can. There's alternatives of sort of putting some marks on here. You could still do this with the fabric, but just glue it on, or even staple it on. I'm not opposed to having a few staples in my work. If I haven't got the time and I'm or I can't be bothered to do any stitching that day, the stapler comes out. Yes, I love the added textures that the fabric gives me. I love all these kind of loose threads hanging about. I'm just doing some little loopy stitches to attach those bits. I'm by no means a seamstress. I don't know many stitches. I'm not very good at it. I mean, I couldn't make you anything practical. However, I do love adding in just some little, tatty stitching here and there. I didn't get the orange, so I'm having to go along and reattach that bit. It doesn't have to be neat. Okay. There's that all stitched on. Just looking to see how I'm doing for time as I'm going. Have I got any questions yet? Yes, Amy, that's perfect. Yes, you could also use pens and things and marks like that on them. No need to do the stitching if you're not a fan. So I'm going to leave it that with my stitching and my fabric, but I have got these bits of paper and things as well in here. So I might just pick out, that's just there on top, just calling for me. Calling to me, that piece. So I can come in here. I like using bits that have got text on. So dictionary pages are absolutely perfect because you get the odd little interesting word. I mean, I could have found the word fragile, but I didn't think of that. But that will do. I've got that. I've got sweet. Now I could carry on stitching those, but I am going to add those on with some glue. So I have got myself some Fabri-Tac here to the side, which is one of my favourite strong craft glues to use. But you could, I mean, probably because it's so delicate, you could use a glue stick here. Oh, I don't know if that's going to come out. It's a bit gummed up. Let me try that now. Oh, no, it doesn't want to. Let me try the other bottle. This one's nearly empty. Yeah, I've got some there. I'm just going to stick, actually, with the more delicate dictionary paper. I'm going to switch to my glue stick, which I've just thrown on the floor. There it is. So I'm just going to stick a few little words on there at the bottom, just randomly, just to add a little bit of interest. So you could carry on going, creating these kind of tea baggy bundles. Let me just check the comments. There is some lovely tea bag art out there, Rachel. I know, such gorgeous things. Yes, you can use a sewing machine. You have to be quite delicate with the sewing machine, but it will work perfectly well. Right, I am bringing in my journal, and we've got some elements now that we can put together to bring it all together. So my tissue paper is more or less dry over here. It doesn't matter that it rips a bit. I'm going to grab some of that. I love those circles. It's not quite dry, but it was right. I love those circles, so I'm going to use those. And I'm going to use a bit of the crosses. And let's not forget our patterned tissue paper as well. You can use scissors, but something like that. So I know that it looks like I'm covering up my spill writing. Some of it will get covered up, but we are using see-through layers after all. So these delicate fragile layers will build upon one another. I'm using some matte medium here. You could use Mod Podge, any kind of liquid glue. But as you put that down, it's going see-through, so I'm getting my words through there as well. And as I layer the pieces up, they'll all lay and sit on one another. I love that. I love those coffee circles. Some little black. Something like that. Do I want any more? Do I? I'm thinking maybe a little bit more of the black down here. Yeah, something like that. Love it. Love it, love it. Now this is going to also be our little see-through layer. That's going to also allow some of those things to come through as we put it over the top. It doesn't look like it now, but once it sticks down with the liquid glue, it will turn see-through. Right, I'm just grabbing a bit of gesso as well. I know it's a bit wet. I might give it a very quick blast. Excuse me for the noise. Okay, that should do. So I can see Rachel's stitching her tea bags all together. Is anyone else working along with me? And I didn't in my haste, in my panic when I got here, manage to ask where you all are as well. So if you want to let me know, that'd be nice. I'm just grabbing some gesso here, and I am just going to kind of mute just the odd little bit using a brush, using my fingers. This is just optional, but I love my white space and I like to kind of unify it with my gesso. I go through tubs and tubs of the stuff. I think that the gesso companies stay in business solely because of me. The amount that I use. Let's see. Oh yes, loads of people stitching and using your stapler. Brilliant, fantastic. Little slow. It does take time. It does, but it's one of those things where you can kind of start your page and then you can go and sit in front of the telly, do some stitching, come back in a bit and add to your page. Southampton, Jackie. Nice. Stitching, lovely. New Orleans, who else? Pennsylvania, hello, hello. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, I'm going to be there next June. How exciting. Right. So I'm going to give that another quick dry with my gesso, and then we're going to head on and we're going to move to putting our little tea bag piece down. Right, I could add some additional colour here if I wanted, that's going to show through. So I am running out of time, I realise. So you could put watercolours and things like that down, and that will show through with some additional colour underneath there. I'm going to leave it as it is. I'm going to leave it quite muted today. Kind of suits the sort of fragility theme to me in my head. What I'm going to do is to put, now you could put an image underneath your tea bag, which you could choose something like an image, and like this I thought was really nice. This soldier, this is from an old book. I think that image is 1914. So something like that underneath. Once you stick the glue, he'll come through. Something like that would be nice if you wanted to use an image. Something like, I found these botanical flowers, and they'd come through quite nicely. Can you see that? Yeah. Or you could use actual things that you've picked up. So I could actually put my feather down, and it needs to shift over a little. That itself will come through. So what do you reckon? I'm torn between the flower and the feather. What do people think? Have a little quick vote. I know I'm running out of time. Da, da, da. Feather. Feather, feather. Most people going for feather. We'll go for feather. Fantastic. Love it. So, what I'm going to do in that case, because the feather is a bit more solid, I'm just going to put a bit of Fabri-Tac down on it just to hold it in place. If this glue will... It's quite empty, but we'll see if we can get it to move. I'm not having good luck with my Fabri-Tac today. I'm going to switch to high tack. This is me not looking after my materials properly, and they all get clogged up. There we go. So a few blobs of glue on the feather, put it into place. That's just going to hold it down where I want it, but then I'm going to switch back to matte medium to get my tea bag piece down. Okay, so we're getting a few. Oh, the Netherlands, nice. I put some glue down on that feather as well, so the whole thing is going to come through hopefully as we put down the tea bag. I don't mind that it's coming off the sides of the page. That really doesn't bother. In fact, I quite like it when you close the journal and you get that gorgeous edges peeking through. Yes, look at that. Look how well that's coming through. As soon as you put that layer down of the matte medium or Mod Podge or whatever glue you use, it makes that transparency happen. And I'm going to also stick down this side, because then we're going to get some of that pattern and that tissue paper down. I have lost some of those coffee rings, but never mind. They are coming through at the top, but I'm not sure it will come out on camera very well. I can always come back and add some over the top if I want. Haha, I love that. Look at that. Yes. Thank you, Amy. It is magic. I love that. It's kind of like that. that moment of, oh, it suddenly goes see-through, and you get a little surprise of how it's going to look. When you first lay it over, you think, it's not going to work, and then as soon as that glue goes down, the magic happens. I'm going to just also get a little bit of gesso on my finger and just soften a few of the edges as well. Here and there. It kind of picks up some of that texture as well on some of that tea bag, the edging. A bit of gold would be nice or something as well. So while I am just tinkering with this, let me just remind you about Wanderlust. So if you have enjoyed this weekend and you want to see more, you can sign up now, use the link below. 49 weeks of lessons, which I think is incredible, and some of the teachers in the lineup are just fantastic. So if you do want to sign up, there's loads of the content is downloadable, there's loads of bonuses. $99 US at the moment, whilst there's a few early bird spaces left, and then it jumps to 175. So just get in there quick. I'm just going to finish this off with some words. Now, I like to find words. Let me just show you this book. This is my current book. And this is how it turns in. This is what happens. So I love to find the words, but I have recently nabbed my mum's old typewriter. So I have, for speed's sake, typed some things out. And I've got, life is fragile and all too precious, or her wings were delicate yet allowed her to soar. And I think with what I wrote underneath all of this, I'm going to go with this one, because I think I was kind of going with the feather is fragile but designed to fly. And since I've gone with the feather, I think that would be perfect. So I just decide where I want my little words to go. Where do I want them? Do you know what? I might actually... What time am I on? Chop them. Now let's go. Where do I want them? I think down here. So have I got any questions? Let me just stick this down and then I shall have a quick look for questions. Thank you, Michelle. And to stick to... Thank you. I'm sorry about the shaky start. Getting in. That was a little stressful, but I'm glad I made it in the end. Yes, thank you, Amy. If you do some of this, I'd love to see it. So if you can tag me at Lisa Goddard Art, so I can see, that would be absolutely gorgeous. Let me just turn my camera back so I can see you all. Is that better? Sorry. So I was just answering, I can't see who it was now that asked, is it done or will I carry on working on it? I may go back and add a few more little layers, perhaps put some more of those coffee circles in that I liked, but other than that, I think no, it's probably done. Am I back? Can you hear me? Yes, good. Good. Are there any more questions? Saying how much I love gherkins. Is that what it looked like I was saying? Because, yeah. Oh, thank you ever so much. Like I was just saying also, like, make sure you do tag me. If you want to find me over on Instagram, I'm at Lisa Goddard Art. I'm at Lisa Goddard Art most places, YouTube, Facebook, and my website, which is lisa-goddard-art.co.uk. if you want to find me there, and you can see what I'm up to and the workshops and stuff that I have on. Is that a big... What's that case yet? What's that big pink thing behind me? This thing. This is a scraper. It's a silicone scraper for scraping paint. I use it quite often with cold wax. Thank you, Sally. We all love gherkins. Thank you ever so much. Thank you for joining me. I hope that's all right. There's no more questions that I can see, so I shall leave you there. Thank you ever so much. Bye.